Hello and welcome to 4Music Presents. Placebo will be playing tracks live in this studio tonight from their new album, Meds, and I'll be chatting to Bran Molko, one of the most intriguing men in rock music. Placebo are quite simply one of the most consistent bands in the world. They've been together for 10 years, they've sold over 6 million albums, and this, live, is their new single, Because I Want You.
Fall into you is all I seem to do when I hit the bottle, 'cause I'm afraid to be alone. Tear us in two is all it seems to do. As the anger fades, this house is no longer a home. Don't give up on the dream, don't give up on the wanting, and everything that's true. Don't give up on the dream, don't give up on the wanting, because I want you to, because I want you to, because I want you to, because I want you, because I want you. Stumble into you is all I ever do. My memory's hazy and I'm afraid to be alone. Tear us in two is all it's gonna do. As the headache fades, this house is no longer a home. Don't give up on the dream, don't give up on the wanting, and everything that's true. Don't give up on the dream, don't give up on the wanting, 'cause I want you to, 'cause I want you to, 'cause I want you to, because I want you, because I want you, because I want you to, because I want you to, because I want you, because I want you. Fall into you is all I ever do when I hit the bottom, 'cause I'm afraid to be alone. Tear us into, tear us into, tear us into, because I want you to, because I want you to, because I want you, because I want you, because I want you to, because I want you to, because I want you, because I want you.
Placebo live on 4Music, and Bran joins me now. In fear of turning it into an interview about fashion, that's a rather dashing jacket.
Thank you, thank you. It's my favourite. I absolutely love it. A bit of distressed leather never goes amiss. Yeah.
Now you're known in many quarters as being an awkward interview. Is it that, or do you not suffer fools gladly?
No, I think I basically did a lot of interviews very hungover, you know, in the early days. So I mean, anybody's awkward in that state. You know, I've kind of I've learned a bit since then. So.
Because I Want You then, as the first single, it hints at a very honest, mature Placebo lyricism in this album. Less convoluted subjects, less abrasive subjects, and very kind of intimate.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I went into the studio to write these lyrics, I was having a bit of writer's block, and I was having a real hard time because I really wanted to go through a process of change. I looked back on what I'd done before, and I found it really gimmicky. And so I just wanted to leave the medicine cabinet behind, you know, and use everyday words and words that everybody could understand, but still communicate something that's, you know, hopefully deep.
You say gimmicky, but Placebo, their strength early on was that it wasn't gimmicky. The subjects were risky, but you always felt that it was a very natural thing for you to be singing about.
We were just fighting against what we'd become famous for, I suppose. But now I think we feel really comfortable about, you know, what we represent and who the band is, and just very, very at ease with ourselves. I think, you know, with a band, we try to be so many things at once, and on this record, we just kind of decided to just be a rock band again.
You always draw such admiration from massive artists, and on this album, it sees you working with people who, again, you know, massive names who are admirers of Placebo. Michael Stipe this time?
Michael Stipe's a hero of mine. I mean, he had such a huge influence on the development of my singing voice, you know, as a teenager. When I discovered that I had a voice, it was very, very much about R.E.M. for me. And so just to actually pin him down and get him into the studio, you know, was just a remarkable thing, and another dream come true. I think Broken Promise, which is the song that Michael duets on, is very, very interesting because it's a song about adultery, and it's two men talking to each other. So, you know, it kind of takes it out of the realm of the cliche as far as a song about adultery is concerned, and there are thousands of them. And with Michael, we've kind of got the best of the old school, but then with Meds as well, we've got the best of the new school with Alison Mosshart, a.k.a. Vivi from The Kills, one of my favourite rock bands, you know.
Oh, OK. If you ask Vivi from The Kills to play on the album, she's going to be honoured. Let's face it, she'll get the bus to come and record in Placebo's album. How do you ask Michael Stipe to record in your album? It's not Michael Stipe at Yahoo.com.
Well, it started off with a text message, you know,
Brilliant.
Which then was followed up with an email, and then just, you know, backwards and forwards from there. You know, modern technology.
What is his email address? Is it like michaelstipe@hotmail.com or something?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
Because I would imagine what would happen is your fans would get that email first, and then he would be more like Michael Stipe 1258.
Michael Stripe.
Michael Stripe,
Blue
I changed
Stripe,
it slightly,
yeah.
yes, or something like that. I mean, it comes from a long list of people. You played on stage with David Bowie. That must be remarkable. So many comparisons between yourselves and Bowie's music. That must be something that just must blow you away even today.
Well, yeah, particularly when you're like a 22-year-old musician who hasn't even signed a record deal, and then all of a sudden you find yourself going from small clubs in Camden to a 8,000-seater place in Italy, you know, and then you meet David Bowie. It's just like, it's completely surreal, and you haven't even recorded your first album yet.
And he knows you.
Yeah, somehow, you know, it's just, it's very weird, but, you know, it's kind of, there's always a voice in your head, you know, which tells you that you're pretty dodgy, you know.
You're going to get found out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that somebody's going to figure it out. But when things like that happen, the voice is quieted for a little while, you know.
Right, let's get Brian back to the stage where he belongs. I think, if you ask me, I'm not the record exec, but this should be a single. From the album Meds, live on 4Music, this is Song to Say Goodbye.
You are one of God's mistakes. You crying, tragic waste of skin. I'm well aware of how it aches, and you still won't let me in. Now I'm breaking down your door to try and save your swollen face, though I don't like you anymore. You lying, trying, waste of space. My oh my, song to say goodbye. My oh my, a song to say before our innocence was lost. You were always one of those blessed and lucky sevens, and a voice that made me cry. You are Mother Nature's son, someone to whom I could relate. Your needle and your damage done remains a sordid twist of fate. Now I'm trying to wake you up, to pull you from the liquid sky. 'Cause if I don't, we'll both end up with just your songs to say goodbye. My oh my, a song to say goodbye, a song to say goodbye, a song to say before innocence was lost. You were always one of those blessed with lucky sevens and a voice that made me cry. It's a song to say goodbye. 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 It's a song to say goodbye.
Coming up, we got them performing a classic. I'm going to chat some more to Brian, but let's get something else for you to get your head around from the new album Meds. This track is called Infrared.
One last thing before I shuffle off the planets. I will be the one to make you cry. So I came down to wish you an unhappy birthday. Someone call the ambulance. There's gonna be an accident. I'm coming up on infrared. There is no running that can hide you, 'cause I can see in the dark. I'm coming up on infrared. Forget your running, I will find you. One last thing before we start the final face-off. I will be the one to watch you fall. So I came down to crash and burn your beggar's banquet. Someone call the ambulance. There's gonna be an accident. I'm coming up on infrared. There is no running that can hide you, 'cause I can see in the dark. I'm coming up on infrared. Forget your running, I will find you. Find you. Someone call the ambulance. There's gonna be an accident. I'm coming up on infrared. There is no running that can hide you, 'cause I can see in the dark. I'm coming up on infrared. Get your running, I will find you, 'cause I
let's go right back to the start. I remember seeing you play to 400 or 500 people just as the debut album was coming out. You were a musical and sexual whirlwind that swept through these clubs in Britain. Do you have much recollection of that time, of your career? Any vivid memories of just how many male and female members in your early crowds wanted to sleep with you? How much that album actually meant to so many people so quickly?
Well, you know, at the beginning of my career is kind of like what people who went through the 60s describe. You know, if you had a really, really good time, you don't really remember the 60s. And it's all a really, really big blur for me to a great degree. You know, I would really, really like to point out that it wasn't really that kind of hysteria wasn't really something that I kind of set out to do. I was just trying to find an identity, really, and trying to find an identity in public. And somewhere along the way, it started to gel, and then we started getting these reactions, and I was quite astounded by them, you know, most of the time. But being a young, you know, 22-year-old kid who just, you know, got a record deal, just wanted to dive into the big shark pool, you know, of rock and roll, and certainly did, you know, hence the blur. Honesty's always played a big role, whether it be that overt honesty of the first album, whether it be right through to now. In interviews, you're always very honest as well. Is there anything where you've thought to yourself, that quote's haunted me, or that's something I wish I hadn't said? Absolutely, yeah. You know, if I'm to be honest with you, I said a lot of things in interviews which most people in bands would only sort of say to their mates down the pub, you know, but because this was kind of, you know, a vehicle for me to sort of express myself, all of this stuff kind of came out. Looking back, if I could change anything, I would probably talk less, you know, about things that are salacious and just really sort of concentrate on the music. So was there almost a stage where a reviewer or an interviewer had to get over you before they could get their head around the music? Absolutely, yeah. And I think there was a point where we became serious caricatures of ourselves, and we needed to sort of, you know, take reality checks to sort of reacquaint ourselves with who we were. There's one quote, Bran, that you said that it will always haunt me. It's not on any cards. Well, it's as a fan. People in the know will know which quote you're talking about, and like it's amazing. You know, it involves bodily fluids. I think. That's the one. Two different coloured bodily fluids. I mean, it's amazing what you can say in passing to a journalist an hour after the interview is over in a pub, you know, just as a passing comment, and how it will haunt you for the rest of your life. See, I'm surprised. And it led me to remember that the tape recorder is never off. No. It's all part of the myth-making process, isn't it? You know, and so a little bit of myth-making's not too bad. Thinking less about grabbing headlines in interviews, does that come from a personal happiness in your own life, being somewhere where I think it comes music maybe isn't the be-all and end-all? If you really, really want it to be about the music, then it can be, you know, and that if you have much, much more confidence in what you're doing musically, then you don't need to fill the empty spaces with all of this headline grabbing. But it worked, man. It really, really worked, you know, but you can't be that person that you were at the age of 33 that you were at the age of 23, you know, and I certainly don't want to be. But you said yourself, this is the darkest record you've made. Yeah. Both musically and lyrically, it's less mechanical. Absolutely. I mean, that comes from, I think, it's a record that sort of cuts through all the nonsense. It doesn't have the gimmicks. It's not trying to grab your attention. It's just really just trying to tell it like it is from my point of view, or from the... You write about what you know, but it's still a fiction, you know? I write about the emotions or the situations that perhaps I've experienced at a certain time, but... You know, I create characters and write stories about them, you know, to express certain things. But I really, really do think it just kind of, it's not trying to be anything else than it is. It's just trying to be itself. And I feel quite, I can take a deep breath and sort of relax now when I think about it. Well, listen, these days. Keep wearing the nice jacket. Thank you. It's certainly, well, it's not. You've made this look like an old fucking rag compared to now you've worn that, I have to be honest, but thank you very much. I'm sorry. Nothing to fear whatsoever. If you're interviewing Bran over the next couple of months, don't worry. Nothing to fear at all. He's a complete pet lamb. We're going to play out tonight, not with a track from the new album Meds, but they said I could pick a classic. So the end of 4Music presents Placebo has to be Nancy Boy.
Lose my luma, cruising for a piece of fun, looking out for number one, to partner every night, so narcotic. What a guess, what a beautiful ass. And it all breaks down, the role reversal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. Spinning me round, she's coming over me. Hey. And it all breaks down, the first rehearsal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. She's coming over me. Hey. Kind of buzz lasts for days. Had some help from insect ways. Comes across all shine coy. Just another Nancy boy. Woman, man, a modern monkey. Just another happy junkie. 50-pound, press my button, going down. And it all breaks down, the role reversal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. Spinning me round, she's coming over me. And it all breaks down, the first rehearsal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. She's coming over me. Hey, hey. Does his makeup in his room, douse himself with cheap perfume. Eye holes in a paper bag, greatest lay I ever had. Kind of guy who mates for life, gotta help him find a wife. We're a couple when our bodies double. And it all breaks down, the role reversal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. Spinning me round, she's coming over me. Hey, hey, and it all breaks down, the first rehearsal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. She's coming over me. Hey, hey. It all breaks down, the role reversal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. Spinning me round, she's coming over me. Breaks down, the first rehearsal. Got the music in my head, she's universal. She's coming over me. She's coming over me.